Gallegos from Peralta Elementary. Come forward. And I'm going to ask Mrs. Chavez, our acting superintendent, to read about you. So you just get to stand there and be looked at, okay? Yes, we need just a moment, for just a moment. Technology's got a little glitch, so you're doing great.
We're good.
We're good now? Okay, turn around, smile. Mrs. Chavez.
Peralta Elementary is happy to introduce Alejandro Hans Gallegos as our representative and pledge leader. Hans is a sixth grade student in Miss Otero's class at Peralta Elementary. He is the son of Janice Gallegos and Salvador Gallegos. Hans is the youngest of 4 children. Hans enjoys school and his favorite class is PE. Hans's favorite television show and comic book character is Daredevil. A couple of his favorite things in life are orange chicken, strawberry milk, learning about history, reading comic books, drawing, and prompt writing. Hans participates in after-school programs at Peralta Elementary, and his 2 favorites are archery and arts and crafts. Hans plans on attending college after high school and becoming an attorney. His inspiration to practice law was born while watching the television show Suits with his dad. Peralta Elementary is proud to have Hans represent us tonight because of his due diligence in demonstrating our core values of practicing kindness, making wise choices, acting responsible, and solving problems. Hans is kind and respectful and always has a quick smile to share.
Would you please stand for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
You did good, huh?
Nice job.
Archery. I think that's the first one that made the whole round. Good job.
At this moment in time, I'm going to ask for your participation in a moment of silence. Our neighbors to the south, the Las Cruces community, had a tragedy this last weekend, and we know that several members of their community were lost. And we know that many of those children, of course, are in the Las Cruces Public Schools, and that school staff will be responding. So if you would please just give us a few moments as we think about the Las Cruces community. Thank you very much. We are now on to item C, the announcement of meeting. Mrs. Chavez, would you please announce the meeting?
This meeting has been announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Resolution and is a legally constituted meeting of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education.
Thank you very much. We're on item D, approval of the agenda. Mrs. Chavez, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
I would like to ask for one amendment to the agenda. I would like to ask to amend the wording on item M2T, Finance Committee items, meeting held March 11th, 2025, approval of budget adjustment requests, bars 25153, Medicaid increase per audited cash. After the agenda had been published, it was discovered that the bar was listed as an increase, but it should have been listed as a decrease. It was listed correctly on the back of documentation.
I would stand for a motion regarding the approval of the agenda with the modification as specified by Mrs. Chavez.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Talley. It has been moved by Mr. Bennett and seconded by Mr. Talley to approve the agenda as modified by Mrs. Chavez. Is there any discussion? Having no discussion, I will call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
Mr. Tally,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion passes 5-0. We are on item E, public comment. Mrs. Chavez, do we have any speakers signed up to present this evening?
We do.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. Ricky present this evening? Thank you, Mr. Ricky. Would you please join us at the podium? While he is moving on his way to the podium, I would like to remind you that before we move into public comment, our audience of the board's procedures for handling public comment, which are found in Board Policy B2150 BEDH. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes per individual speaker. However, the board president may further restrict or waive these time limits based on the number of speakers. The board welcomes public input. The board does not prohibit public criticism or comment upon personnel matters, but does discourage personal attacks on board members, staff, personnel, or other persons. Presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unjustly unfavorable impression may subject the presenter to civil action. Any person making public comments shall be solely responsible for the content of his or her comments. The board neither adopts nor assumes responsibility for any comments made by the individuals during the public comment section of the board. Mr. Ricky, the floor is yours.
My name is James Ricky, I'm Los Lunas. I'd like to thank Madam President, Dr. Osowski, members of the Wilson School Board, Superintendent Chavez, and the public for being here. So I'm going to start by reading something that was written in 1946 after World War II by Martin Nimbler, a German Lutheran pastor theologian. The context is this was written after Germany, at the end of World War II in Nazi Germany. So there are various forms of this, what he wrote, so this is one form of it. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. We're seeing, the point of this is, I'm trying to make it relevant to today. We are in danger of our rights being limited, and they're starting with people who are not popular. The day may come when you become one of those people who's not popular, who finds that your rights, your freedoms are abridged. We are in dangerous times. We already see that our education system is being threatened by massive cuts at the federal level that could require drastic cuts by this board and the state and all the states. So be cognizant of what's going on in your country, be cognizant of your rights and the rights of others around you, because a day may come when they're not just people who are not popular, but someone you know or you know. So just use caution, pay attention to what's going on in your country. Don't assume that the people in power are doing the right thing. Speak up if you feel a need to. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky, very much for your participation and engagement with the board. We appreciate you being here. We are on the item F, the approval of consent items. I would stand for a motion regarding the consent items.
Madam President,
Mrs. Simoia,
I move to approve the consent items with the exception of item M4A, the approval of purchase Roberts Truck Center Facilities Department for warehouse delivery box truck out of the 11,000 operational fund. Item M4E, which is the Tillery Bus Sales Transportation Department propane activity bus, again, out of the 11,000 operational budget. Item M7, the approval of grant award and memorandum of understanding, the MOU between Los Lunas Schools and Future Focused Education for Los Lunas High School, Valencia High School, Century High School. This is funded through the New Mexico Public Education Department. Item M9, and that would be M9A, the approval of MOU for an internship between Los Lunas Schools and local businesses, specifically the A Teen Years LLC.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. It has been moved and seconded to approve all of the action items with the exceptions of item item M4A, item M4E, item M7, item M9A. Is there any discussion? Having no discussion, let me read something. I apologize. For the benefit of the audience, consent items are the action items on the agenda presented by the superintendent and staff for approval. All agenda items have been reviewed by the board members individually. If no discussion has been asked for regarding these items by any of the board members, the action items may be submitted for approval with one motion and vote. The action items that are not consented will be discussed prior to action being taken. Having no discussion, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Tally,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion passes 5-0. Picking up on a note here. We are on item H, the acting superintendent of schools report presented by acting superintendent, Mrs. Susan D. Chavez.
Thank you, Dr. Osowski. My first item on the report, I will turn this over to Mr. Seiss, who oversees our athletic department.
I'd like to turn things over to Mr. Hayes.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. It is my absolute pleasure to be giving you a presentation this evening for one of our state champion wrestler, Cash Bachija. So if you want to come on up. Okay, they're pulling up the presentation.
Is this more tense than when you were waiting to start your final match? Well, we have candy, so after you come on by, you can have what's left over, although Mr. Bennett gave it away. So.
Yes. Awesome. So as you can see up here, Cash has demonstrated exceptional commitment, discipline, and resilience on and off the mat. This moment you see here captures the results of years of dedication, not just from Cash, but from the entire support system around him, his coaches, teammates, and family. As you can see here, this is a screenshot of the tournament. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can get a glimpse into the intensity of the state tournament. Cash competed at the highest level against the best wrestlers in New Mexico and came out on top. It is important to note that this kind of success doesn't happen overnight. It is built on consistent training, coaching, and personal drive. And here we can see an outside, what Cash does outside of competition. I like to start off with the fact that he is a 3.0 student which I think speaks wonders for all the success that he's had on the mat as well. We can see the progression he's had over the last 3 years. In 2023, we're going from third place, 2024, second place, 2025, first place. That's with his regional, his state, similar. We 2023 third place, 2024 third place, 2025 first place. He also had national placing at the Greco-Roman Wrestling All-American in 2023, taking 7th place. As you can see, this consistency and improvement year after year is a result of his hard work and dedication. You can see all the career wins that he's had. 29 wins, 4 losses, 21-22, moving to 35-6, 37-6, and finally 43-2. I can say we are proud to celebrate Cash's achievements today, not just because of what he's won, but what he's of who he's becoming. Thank you to his coaches, teammates, teachers, and family supporting him on this journey, and we can't wait to see what comes next. So I present to you Cash, our state champion wrestler. Congratulations.
Thank 144 wins over 4 years. That is amazing. That is incredible. Congratulations.
Did I read correctly? Did you pin every single one of your matches?
You pinned everyone. That's amazing.
Oh my God, congratulations.
In the first or second period.
I saw these, yeah. Ball. That's amazing. That's amazing. You want a picture? Very much, Josh. Congratulations.
Cash, are your parents here this evening? Well, congratulations. Thank you for sharing your son with us and keeping him in Los Lunas. We sure appreciate it. You must be just so proud. Awesome. Thank
So,
you.
I don't know if the rest of the audience heard Miss Simoia. She realized that Cash
Yeah.
won all of his state champion matches by pin in either the first or second period. So that in itself is a huge achievement. So congratulations.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
And
coming.
Coach, are you here?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And thank you for continuing to develop high quality athletes that not only show character, but promise. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations again. The next item in the report is our student representatives report, and I am pleased to announce Sofia Bermudez Corona is a senior at Valencia High School. She lives with her mother, Erica Corona. She attended both Peralta Elementary and Parish Elementary, Valencia Middle School, and will soon be graduating from Valencia High School. Sophia is a very busy student. She is senior class president, a leading member of the drama department, and works at Starlight Movie Theater. In her spare time, she likes to hang out with friends and plan for all her school activities. After high school, Sophia plans on attending the University of New Mexico. She would like to continue to study theater. Sophia was chosen by the staff at Valencia High School because of her high energy, her academic success, and her participation in so many extracurriculars. Last fall, she spearheaded constructing an ofrenda in the courtyard for Dia de los Muertos for staff and students at VHS. Her commitment to JAG Nation is unmatched. Sophia, the podium is yours.
Good evening, Madam President, members of Los Lunas School Board of Education, and Superintendent Chavez. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about Valencia High School. It is truly an honor to be able to represent the faculty, staff, sports teams, clubs, and most importantly, the student body at VHS here this evening. Buenas noches, señora Presidente, miembros de la Junta de Educación de la Escuela Los Lunas y Superintendente Chávez. Gracias por la oportunidad de hablar con ustedes sobre la Escuela Valencia High School. Es un gran honor representar a la administración, maestros, los equipos deportivos, los clubs y sobre todo los estudiantes de Valencia High School esta noche. I'd first like to congratulate Mrs. Otero on being promoted to our new head principal at Valencia. She works so hard on making our school a better experience for all students and is always there for our student body. Valencia is so lucky to have Mrs. Otero and can't wait to continue to see her grow and shaping our community to be better. I'd like to recognize our girls basketball team. They have worked so hard all year long and are well-rounded young ladies with a bright future ahead of them. The week before spring break, our Lady Jags played Albuquerque Academy on the 11th and Kirtland High School on the 13th. This school year, the girls broke a new school record with the most wins in a single win with 25 wins. Valencia's track, golf, tennis, baseball, and softball seasons are underway. Our very own National Honor Society has just recruited its new members for the upcoming school year. 18 JROTC students attended the 36th annual Baton Memorial Death March over spring break and walked 26.2 miles in memory of over 72,000 POWs that were forced to walk in World War II Baton Death March. Our drama department is constantly working hard towards their next project. In February, we were able to attend Les Mis thanks to our friends like Matt from Popejoy and my great friend Glimpse Johnson, who encouraged us to apply to the Broadway for Teens lottery. We were able to take 42 students and also Mr. Carter. Right after watching that beautiful Broadway show, I was recently given the opportunity to participate in Valencia Drama's production of Mean Girls, where I played the role of Regina George. This was Valencia's second time putting on a musical. Our show was all student-led, with the help of our incredible drama teacher, Mrs. Navarro. Students directed, built sets, created costumes, and choreographed the whole show. With Mean Girls showcasing so many different themes and struggles most high schoolers, like myself, go through, Drama and Student Council teamed up to promote awareness to our student body. We created Spirit Wellness Week to promote the show and let our student body know that whatever struggle they may be facing, they are never alone. We followed themes that were talked about in the show, like self-authenticity, body image, risky behaviors, and mental health. We posted videos on social media to educate our community and provide them with resources. Our student body vice president, Brandy O'Connor, will be leading a health and wellness project to educate our student body on suicide awareness. We will focus on a different topic each week and provide journals for students to keep as a way of writing out some emotions. This project is just starting out, and we are hoping it helps at least one person. This project is extremely important to us as we know a lot of students struggle with it, and even more struggling with how to help others. Continuing with Student Council, earlier this year, I was able to work with Second Vice President Madison Malella on a connections project. We both diligently worked on Valencia's first Dia de los Muertos ofrenda. We copied pictures of students and staff's loved ones. We set out cards and pens for staff and students to write messages. Many people came and showed their respects. Ms. Zavala, our Spanish teacher, brought some of her classes out to learn about the culture. Thanks to the support of Ms. Zavala, I am proud to say I am earning my bilingual seal on my diploma. With all these projects Student Council members work hard on, we get to present them at our state conference in February. We initiated a plastic awareness project and another we like to call a staff room glow up. Our staff room relations project got first place. This year, Valencia High School Student Council earned its first Platinum Award. We are so proud of the work we've done and of bringing platinum to our school. Coming up, we have our annual Fiesta de Valencia. This is an amazing community event for all Jaguar Nation. You don't want to miss Fiesta de Valencia on April 3rd at Valencia High School. Lastly, we are preparing for graduation and all that it involves. The event begins with academic letter ceremony at the end of April, robing ceremony May 15th, and finally graduation at the UNM pit on Monday, May 19th. As you can tell, there's a lot going on at Valencia High School. We really appreciate the continuous support we have received from our community. We would not be able to do any of this if it was not for their support and trust. Thank you again for this opportunity to represent Valencia High School and to share all the wonderful things our student body has done this year and the many plans we have for the future. Como pueden ver, este año estamos muy ocupados en Valencia High School. Agradecemos enorme el constante apoyo de nuestra comunidad. No seríamos capaces de lograr nada sin su apoyo y confianza. Gracias nuevamente por esta oportunidad de representar a Valencia High School y compartir todas las cosas maravillosas que nosotros estudiantes hemos hecho este año y muchos planes que tenemos para el futuro. Gracias. Thank you.
Very nicely done. Members of the board, do you have any questions or comments for Ms. Sophia?
I want to interview her.
Go ahead.
So you want to go into theater,
Yes, sir.
as in live theater, or are you looking at movies, TV? What's the career you're after?
That's a tough question. I truly haven't found a single thing in both film and live theater that I don't enjoy. That's why I work at the movie theater. I truly love it. I would like to stick to live theater, but I also would like to experiment with film. It seems very interesting and so fun to do.
And in acting, right? Not
Yes.
background.
And both,
Acting.
both if I could.
Okay, so now my final question is, what is your dream role? What is your dream role?
That's a good one.
That is a good question. Dream role. I would like to play Eurydice in Hadestown, the Broadway musical.
Whoa,
Wow.
that's ambitious. That's awesome. It's terrific. Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Bennett.
I have no question, just thank you so much for a great presentation and doing bilingual. I appreciate that and I wish you the best success.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Tally.
Solo quisiera decirte gracias por estar aquí esta tarde y compartir con nosotros lo que está pasando en Valencia. Y aunque no vas a NMSU, te deseo suerte y éxito en el futuro.
Muchas gracias. Vamos like this.
No way. I only got into MSU out of all of them. No. No, we looked your success. Mr. Tally, please translate for us, for those of us who are not bilingual.
I just wanted to tell her thank you for coming and sharing with us what's happening in Valencia. And even though she's not going to NMSU, still wish her success.
Terrible. Thank you very much. Mrs. Simoia.
Sophia, you're a fantastic actress because it took me a while to realize that you were Regina George. Yeah, I saw the name and I said, same person or not? I was fortunate enough to see you play. It was phenomenal. As a matter of fact, that'll be one of my shout outs. And for you to play that as a stretch and for me to see you here tonight, I'm like, yeah, you can do this acting thing. Thank you again for doing that in Spanish. I try to be bilingual. I understand more than I can speak, but you speak beautifully. So congratulations. Congratulations. We wish you all the best in your success.
Thank you.
So it's down to me. You may have been warned because you gave me the look. So first of all, I am so impressed with the level of detail that you put together in your presentation in terms of what's happening across VHS. And I have to say, VHS just, every time we have a student come and present to us, they take the time to really give us this comprehensive view and perspective so we can understand how busy you are. Students always compliment their teachers, their coaches, or their leaders and their support. So first of all, a very nicely put together presentation. I loved the shout outs that you did. I mean, so many things I circled, it was just amazing. So thank you for the time that you put in on that. I know that we've already had two address your acting skills. So I would like to come down and talk about the Drama and Student Council teaming up and talk to me a little bit about self-authenticity.
Self-authenticity. Well, it's not an easy thing for sure. I think in high school, you see a lot of students not struggle to be that just because we have this stereotypical idea in our mind to try to fit in. And it's just hard to be authentic to yourself, but it's always important to remember your roots, where you came from, and really who you want to be. And I think it's really important. And that's why it was one of our topics that we shared with our community, not just our school, because I feel like it's important to be yourself, authentic self, in order to be happy.
Appreciate hearing that. Did you have good participation with that particular topic? Did you have good student interaction with it? It's okay, mine goes off all of the time, so.
We did. With our Spirit Week, we tried to incorporate some of the themes from the week, so like costumes for like we do for homecoming and prom. And that really helped engage our student body to want to participate. And yeah, our students really like the Spirit Week.
That is terrific. Well, I do want to congratulate you again, especially on earning the bilingual seal on your diploma.
Thank you.
The bilingualism is wonderful to hear. That was absolutely amazing. And in my time on the board, you're the first student to come and offer in English and in Spanish. So you have another distinction to add to your record. So thank you very much for coming. Are your parents with us?
Not today.
Okay.
They're
well, tell
watching
them
at
to
home.
Watch the video because
Yes.
we need at least 2 likes. It helps us, okay, with our.
Yes, ma'am.
And then that way they can see the praises that we have for you. And we look forward to shaking your hand in just about, what, 7 short weeks? So. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia. Our next item, which will be hard to follow after your amazing presentation, Ms. Sophia, will be the construction update from Mrs. McMahon.
No pressure, no pressure.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Chavez. Thank you again for allowing us to present some updates of things happening across our district as far as our facilities go. So we had a busy week, especially during spring break with all the buildings empty and nobody was there. They were very active with some construction and improvements happening. One of those things was Las Lunas High School. We were able to get inside the building and do some much needed maintenance on our handrails. A lot of those handrails get used quite often and the paint wears. And even though it is a newer school, we want to make sure that we maintain that level of care. And so we were able to get in there and paint all the hand railings and the stairways. Valencia Middle School, we have also been able to paint the front entrance of their building. An old marquee was taken down and it was kind of an eyesore, and some much needed improvements needed there for the front of the school. We also are going to be doing some various asphalt site repairs, some at Valencia High School, Valencia Middle School, and also some sill coating at Las Lunas High School Stadium parking lot. At Valencia High School and Valencia Middle School, we'll be grinding down various asphalt tripping hazards that we have around the district. We see a lot of sand that gets shifted and different leveling and settling of asphalt that we're going to be taking care of those this coming weekend. Some other projects that actually we had them as upcoming. We were able to get a jump start on some of these during spring break. LLE, we added some additional security fencing along the parent drop-off and pickup lane. That way we don't have any cars driving through the property, coming into the site. We can keep that maintained for student safety. That project will be wrapping up this week. Again, this month, we're going to be seeing a start at Bosque Farms Elementary, the fencing and automatic gates that are going to be going along there. We'll be raising the perimeter fence, I believe it's along Esperanza, to a 6-foot wrought iron fencing and adding automatic gates to the staff parking lot. So we can ensure those stay closed, but yet give access for anyone that's parked in there to leave. Eastside Transportation Mechanic Workshop Canopy. This project will also be starting next month. This will include adding an additional bay for our mechanic to work on our buses rather than in dirt, and also providing them some much needed protection from the sun and wind with a metal canopy structure. We will be also adding electrical and water for them. Currently, they don't have any power source there, and this is a much needed item that I think will benefit our mechanics very much so. Another item we have ordered for KGE and Desert View Elementary, some HVAC units that are needing to be replaced. So those units on order, when they come in, we'll be contracting with a vendor to get those installed. And then we also have some various site concrete work that's happening. We did some work up at Sundance. One area was for the new additional parking lot, overflow parking for them to have. And then we'll be seeing some at LLE and Las Lunas Middle School, I believe is the other one across the street, to just repair some ADA sidewalks and some trip hazards there as well. Next, we'll get you a bit of a look inside Peralta Elementary. This last month, it was a great pleasure to be able to bring in our pre-K community. Our teachers and their staff were able to visit the site. I got to see what it was like to be a teacher on a field trip with a bunch of students. I felt like I needed a rope for all these pre-K teachers to bring them into their new school. So I really enjoyed being able to see the excitement that they had. I know we had a lot of nervousness, and it's a new site and some of them have to move locations. It was a joy to also see them start getting inspiration for how these classrooms will look and how they can get ideas when they do move into them. So what you'll see on here are the carpet going in the DD pre-K classroom. We will have 2 of those spaces. And then on the far right is another pre-K classroom. The flooring has been completed in that space. On the exterior of the building, we're starting to see the utilities and sidewalks go in. So all that ground level is being raised and sidewalks added, so we'll be ready for the start of the school year. And we are also looking for another field trip with our Peralta Elementary teachers who have been patiently waiting to see inside that building this Friday. So they'll also get to see what their new classrooms will be looking like. We continue to make progress at Los Lunas High School Stadium. We finally get to see the structure coming to life. I think a lot of people can start seeing it now as they drive by. So that continues to become closer to completion. We'll start seeing it enclosed in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll start working actively on the inside with the restrooms that are going in there. Another item that we were excited to be able to see this week is the use of our new Valencia Elementary Parent Drive Loop. I was there on Monday and we had 0 cars on any of the main roads, which was excited to see that there was no traffic for our community, and it was very positive. Our parents were very well prepared, and we'd like to thank the staff at Valencia Elementary for making that happen and the smooth transition for them. So that is currently in place. And then I would like to show you some updates from the West Side Transportation Canopy that will be the new home for our activity buses, and to provide some extra shelter for all the decals that get on those buses and kind of just preserve the life of the exterior of what they see with our New Mexico sun here. So that project is underway. And lastly, we are ready to start our kickoff for the design of Am Parish Elementary. We had our first initial admin meeting with our architects for some initial startup. They were actively at Peralta Elementary during the break, doing some scannings of inside our buildings, some measurements, and preparing themselves for our first full committee meeting that will be taking place next week. So we look forward to being able to provide you some updates as the design process continues. And with that, I have staff for any questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vickers, any questions? Mr. Bennett?
Yeah, always nice report on the HVAC units at Desert View. Are you going to continue to keep the boilers on that 1 week, or are you eventually maybe try to switch them out to combos?
I don't have an answer for that, but I can speak with our maintenance supervisor who is handling the management of those systems, and I can get an update to Ms. Chavez for you.
Is that your only question? Yep. Thank you very much. Mr. Talley?
No, just thank you for the presentation. I love seeing all the updates and the things as they're progressing. So thank you.
Mrs. Simoia?
Yes, Ms. Tiffany, thank you again. Great presentation. Question on the unit replacement. Are they in working condition right now? The ones we're going to be replacing, or?
Off and on. So a lot of times those units that we do repairs on tend to go back into disarray.
Right.
And so we're actively replacing those. I think last year we did a handful of units. And so we're actively looking at ones that are constantly needing repair and just replacing them rather than having to come back and repair. Usually one thing leads to another. And so these are the 2 that we've had on the list, and we're just checking them off as we go.
And do you have a guesstimate on the date of arrival?
I don't
work
yet.
in a building that's needing them too, and they're very difficult to get right now.
We haven't had any problems in receiving them as far as the sizes that we have, but I don't have a date on those. I can also get that information in Ms. Chavez for you.
If you would, and then just a shout out to the team that you had supervising the Valencia Elementary Parent Drive Loop. I have to go through there at about the same time as the parent drop off, and I arrive home about the same time as the parent pick off. And I'm like, yes, this was beautiful. But I've been watching the construction. Your staff was out there constantly helping supervise the construction site. And they were constantly there early, on time and everything. And yeah, it went phenomenal on Monday. So thank you so very much. It was great.
So I had a couple of questions from community members about the security fencing at LLE. Did we let parents know what was going to be happening there?
I am not aware of what information was given to the school. This has been a request from our SROs and our administration from LLE with concerns that the site is very open for a car to drive in. And so what it was is we put the fencing just to deter cars from driving off the path towards our portables and the gymnasium building.
That is terrific. And I did have a couple of comments come back that this, the person actually kind of started off a little grumpy. It's everywhere they go, there's some construction going on. And I said, that is awesome to hear because it means that we're working on keeping these buildings and the grounds safe and state of the art and in good upkeep. And by the end of the conversation, that particular grumpy person was back to being 100% your cheerleader and the team's cheerleader. So congratulations. And I'm so glad that we're so visible. And thank you again for the report. It's nice to see that we're so busy. Mhm.
Thank you, Mrs. McMinn. And now I will have Ms. Sandy Tracek provide her reports.
Madam President, members of the board, acting superintendent, Mrs. Chavez. Normally I'm before Tiffany, so it's kind of now we get to go over numbers after all that exciting instructions. Oh, boy. So I have the state of finances report that I think you're used to seeing. This month I added another column to kind of, if you notice, I'm sure you did, that there were a lot of bars that went through this time. And a lot of them were bars that were meant for increasing. Now that the audit is complete, we are truing up our cash balances in the budget. So once we will, since they were consented, I will be posting them on the OBMS tomorrow. And then the PED has a full month to review them and approve them. So once they're done with them, it usually doesn't take as long as a month, but it can take up to a month. Once they've approved it, then we'll be able to post it to our budget. But I kind of put them on there just so you can kind of see how these change. So when you first look at that first column, it shows the budget authority that we have today. Once those bars are approved by the PED, the numbers will change. So I highlighted the ones in blue are the ones that were changed due to the audit, the cash differences. So that's what the budget will be once those bars are approved by PED. The yellow ones that we have are just our normal, a lot of those some of them are initial budgets or they're carryover changes that came in. Those are not ones that have to do with the audit. So again, what I have on there, what I have is it's not gonna help, sorry. I know I sound like a man. So then I have the balances remaining, once those bars are in, and then it shows you the percentages that are remaining. So in some cases, if you were to compare from last month, since we're adding to the budget, you might actually even see the remaining percentage go up. So there are all the funds that we're used to seeing. So then it has, when you get to the very bottom, it shows that the percentage remaining is 32%. And just as so, if because of those cash differences last month, the remaining percentage was at 30. So it will increase for remaining after those bars are entered. Then the next section I have is the operational revenue. And I kind of put at the bottom the amounts of the number of months that are remaining. There's 3 months left to receive revenue out of 12 months. is at a 25% remaining. And when you look at the operational in total, the percentage remaining is at 25%. So we're right on schedule. And that's due to the fact that the SEG is such a large portion of all the other revenues. They're so much smaller. Usually whatever that percentage is for the SEG ends up being what your total percentage is. And that's because we receive 1 month at a time for SEG. So we are right on track on the revenue. And now we could bring it forward. Okay, so that is going over what we have this fiscal year. And now we're entering the budget season. And so what I have here is just kind of getting prepared for the budget that we will have for next fiscal year. So this is the budget timeline that we have. We've already, the first one, I've put them in consecutive order there. The principal budget meetings have already been held. And that happened February 4th and the 26th. Then we have scheduled a board work session to go over with the board to kind of talk about things that, you know, anything you want to talk about for the budget, any ideas you might have. We won't know at that point of how much money we'll be receiving yet, but we can discuss items for the budget at that time. So next will be the spring budget workshop. So I'll be attending spring budget workshop April 9th through the 11th. That is usually when we find out things through our ASBO, things that'll be happening for the next fiscal year budget. A lot of times the final unit value is told at that time, hopefully, or even sooner would be great. But hopefully at that time. I doubt that, being that the governor has until April 11th to sign some of the things that were put through. I don't know. I would think they would need longer to set that final unit value. So kind of the things that we're talking about on April 8th will be just a few things that are known at that time. And we also have a first budget presentation on April 15th. So that at that, I will let you know anything that I know at that point, what I've worked on. And hopefully by then we know how much money we'll be receiving. After that, I will be meeting on April 22nd with the NEA to go over the budget. What I know at that point, there'll be also later that day will be the parent advisory community to talk about the budget. And hopefully the final board presentation and approval will be April 29th. Then our budget is due May 12th. So that is
Early this year.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
So when the budget is due, I will have to have that budget due that morning. It'll be due, so I don't have later on, it'll have to be done. So everything will have to be uploaded, and that will be every fund that we know at that point also.
Terrific.
Do you have any questions on finance?
Thank you very much.
Budgets?
Thank you for the presentation. No questions. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Talley?
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So we know that the transportation is in deficit and that's gonna come out at the end out of the operational. The childcare block grant also is in deficit. Is that also gonna come out of operational, or how does that get reconciled?
Yes,
Okay.
operational. So that there are a couple funds that I just know right off the bat, and of course, transportation. So when you see the budget, I always put, there's a certain section, it's the function in the 2,700. I will put a portion of money in the operational budget for an estimate of what I will have to cover for transportation every year.
And same with the
this
child.
This has been as long as I've ever, I can't, well, other than COVID, when we weren't taking the kids to school.
Is that the same with the childcare block grant also?
Yes, that one also, that one depends on how many CYFD kids are in the classroom at the time, so. So if the grads program has children in it that are CYFD kids, then we'll receive more revenue than we would if they are not CYFD kids. So that goes up and down. You never know what type of kids that will be in there, what type of revenue you're going to receive. But always, it ends up being something that we have to cover. We also sometimes have to cover the gate receipts for athletics is another one, but it's not, you know, just like the child part here, it is not like a huge amount, but it's just something that I always expect to do. Whereas transportation is really a big burden on the operational budget. That's
Thank
a
you.
Huge amount we have to.
Mrs. Simoia, no questions. Great presentation, Sandy. Thank you.
So I just have a couple. So I noticed on the percent remaining, we have several that are at 1% and 0%. So for instance, USDA Equipment Assistance Program, we're at 0%. I don't know I don't think you've ever spoken to us and raised any red flags. But like school buses, we're at 0%. So a few of them are at 0%. Does that mean that we've spent it on the thing that we meant to and there's nothing left? So please don't go asking for more school bus cameras.
Right.
Is that what you're
For-
just
for,
saying?
Like the two that you mentioned, like the school bus, we were given an award and it said, you know, we're gonna buy you a school bus, we're gonna give you the amount, we send in the quote for the amount. They say, we're gonna give you yay much money, that's the award. We order that bus, let's say the bus ends up costing us a little bit more, we'll have to code it somewhere else, that portion that's extra. So hopefully they give us the full amount. If they do, then we enter that requisition, or that PO for the exact amount. So it's already, it's in there. So the award comes in, we get the award, say, we'll play, you know, say it's $150,000. We get that award, then we turn in the PO for $150,000 for that. Then the remaining is 0. Same thing with, I think you mentioned the equipment that we had for student nutrition. That was also something like a grant that we received. They said, we need a mixer and so a grant was written. They said, here's, $16,000 for your equipment. We put in the requisition, nothing's left. So those are ones where like kind of more specific when they come to 0, or it could be something that we've spent the entire fund. That doesn't happen very often.
Great.
At this point.
I appreciate that you keep pressing us and giving us more information and have higher expectations for us to keep following this along. So with your tutelage over the last several months, you've done a great job of building at least my capacity and understanding this. So keep the spreadsheets coming. Yes, we have great presentations, but yes, this is good job. I really appreciate this. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sandy.
And then next I have for the audit committee. Our audit committee did meet this month. And we did talk about like what we're gonna want to do for the next year's audit. We did talk about some of the findings that we did have and what has been completed or what we are doing to correct those findings was a discussion. And then we also discussed that we can take a little break from the next couple months on the audit committee. We will wait until at the point that we met the list. So we receive a list of the approved auditors that can be used. That hadn't gone out yet. So since then I have received that listing, but at that point we haven't. So we will be meeting again, but we feel that we can take a little break now from that and work on other things. So the next date for the audit committee is to be determined.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Tracy. I would like to thank all of our staff who assisted with projects and unexpected maintenance matters during spring break. We appreciate you taking time from your vacation to take care of our facilities. We know that emergencies happen, and we also know that upgrades need to happen. And I know that some of the upgrades we will very much appreciate once graduation season rolls around, especially in our gyms. Recruiting season for the 2025-2026 school year has begun, Thank you to our team members who are coordinating events and attending events as we prepare for staffing needs for next school year. We have two familiar faces who recently received new positions in our district, administrative positions. I would like to welcome Mr. Albert Aragon to his new role as the Director of Personnel. And Mrs. Jennifer Otero, our new Valencia High School principal. Congratulations, Mr. Aragon and Mrs. Otero, on your new positions. Spring testing has begun at our school sites. The testing will continue through the end of the school year. We wish all our students the best on their upcoming summative assessments. The Read Across America activities and events that took place earlier this month were a success. Thank you to our school sites for continuing this long tradition, and I always look forward to reading to students, one of my most favorite parts of being an educator. We are very proud of our student athletes who competed in recent state tournaments. Your sportsmanship at the events exemplified pride for our Jaguar and Tiger nations. I look forward to another successful winter season, and I can't wait until next year for our students to compete. My report this evening represents many of our amazing students and staff who make our district so special. It also showcases some of the events and facility upgrades that are occurring in our district. Thank you all for making our district so incredible. You truly make our district shine. Thank you. And that concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you very much. Item H was for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. We are on item I, board commendations. Mr. Bennett, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, for starters, I'd like to, I went and watched the girls' basketball game and it was great. It's too bad we came up short, but it was, had a couple of good games. I enjoyed watching that. I also had the privilege of going to the cheer and dance competitions, and I'm not a judge, but I think we got, not supported well on that. So, but the Jags did real good and the Tigers did real well. I'd also like to mention one Tiger, especially Madison Aragon, who received a scholarship on Together We Rise. So it was pretty nice during the whole break of it. They mentioned her name and she got to stand out there and give her scholarship. So it was really nice to be there as a representative of this county and this schools. It was sweet. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Is Madison here tonight by chance? No. I thought I saw somebody kind of indicate that she would be. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Talley.
Yeah, I just like to commend there's a number of ROTC students that went during spring break, gave up time. I know at least one that gave up a trip to Cancun to go camp on White Sands and to do the Baton Death March. And it was quite a grueling experience. I mean, it's hot and it's 26 miles hiking in. They're wearing backpacks and they're wearing their thick boots and things like that. So good on them to go down and participate in that event.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mrs. Simoia?
Absolutely. Couple of accommodations. This is pretty much a shout out on the east side. They've been spending a lot of time. Congrats to Miss Otero. We've got a lot of feedback from community members. Very pleased with her promotion and happy to be working with you and Mr. Carter having you there as well. So, and then congratulations, Mr. That's great. Also, we want to go ahead, the drama performance. If you guys get an opportunity to go to the high school drama performances, either Las Lunas High School or Valencia High School, incredible drama performances. I was invited by the lead and was getting my nails done and she said I should go and I did and it was great and it was Mean Girls and it was fun. So thank you guys. It was phenomenal. Shout out to you guys for doing that. Specific shout out for the construction project on Valencia Elementary, the parking and drop off, the parent pickup. Albuquerque Asphalt was, I believe, the contractor for that. So I do want to put a shout out to them because we do have parents that walk their students to school. So they would stop everything while the parents would walk their kids past and, just the caution, the care. And, there's guys out there with the hard hats and everything and they're waving. So such a great little opportunity. And then I did want to go ahead and commendate those I think both high schools participated in the Baton Death March. I am not brave enough to do the whole one. I've done the half. My husband has done the whole one. My son does the whole one. And yeah, what they go through, they spend the night out there, you guys, and camp the night before, get up at 4 a.m., eat chow, and then get ready for a full day of walking in sand to reenact this. And so their dedication and their remembrance of the soldiers that actually participated in Patan is just honorable for them to give up that time in their weekend. So shout out to them.
Congratulations. Thank you for that.
Mr. Vickers.
I don't have any. You did not do your homework again. You will see me after class. Okay, I have a few. So first of all, we had 9 students from Los Angeles High School, and I'm sure that there were some from Valencia, but I did not see it, and so I apologize. But 9 of our Los Angeles High School boys basketball team made the all-district academic roll. So I am very pleased to see that, rising our academics and raising that. Mrs. Otero, did we have students from Valencia High? We had 5.
Probably about the same amount of girls.
That is awesome. I apologize that I didn't see that. I went searching and couldn't find that information. So thank you for being here. And so I'm very proud of all of that. I do know that we had also a Los Angeles High School boys basketball player that also was on the second team for all district. Mrs. Otero, did we have somebody from Valencia?
Girls, yes, and all state as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Exactly what we want to hear. So thank you very much for that. I want to congratulate the Los Angeles High School Band Color Guard. They placed first at the La Cueva High School competition. The week before, they were at 3rd in Rio Rancho. So in 1 week, they went from 3rd to 1st. So you want to talk about perseverance and drive. Very, very proud of that group. I also want to comment and commend the Science Olympiad at Los Angeles High School. They won several medals at the State Science Olympiad. So lovely to see our STEM represented and those coaches there. Excellent, excellent. And our Los Angeles school staff, in cooperation with Niagara, helped to distribute food and essential supplies to over 400 families served by La Vida Felicidad for Feed the Children. So they did that on their own time. I would like to compliment them and thank them for their service. And finally, we had an NMAA Foundation Scholarship winner, Mr. Daniel Altobello. Did I say that correct? So Altobello. Well, I want to congratulate him and his parents. What a nice honor. It is so nice having our athletes and our students represented across the district. So thank you very much for everybody who is supporting these kids and they can have these moments of achievement, and our staff for your efforts and participation. You are what definitely makes us a premier district. And so thank you very much. We are now on item J, which is the presentation and approval of board policy, the 3rd reading. Did you need something, Mrs.? Do you need 5 minutes? We are going to take a 5-minute break. It is 7:05, so we are breaking at 7:05. We'll be back in 5 minutes. If you need to leave, if you do not want to hear this exciting reading of board policy, now is the time to race for the door. Okay, run, don't walk. We can trap you in here.
Well, I can run something.
I'm gonna call this meeting back to order at 7:15 PM. We are on item J, the presentation and approval of board policy, the third reading, E 1000, School Safety and Security Department and School Resource Officers. So at this time, I am going to turn the presentation over to our trusted legal advisor who's traveled down from Santa Fe to be with us, or Albuquerque or Santa Fe?
Today, I actually started from Taos.
From Taos. Well, we appreciate you making the trek, so lead the way, sir.
Thank you. Board President, board members, Acting Superintendent, glad to be back in front of you. For what I believe is our fifth meeting on this policy, and the board has taken this policy very seriously. It's a very important policy to adopt and have on the books to represent the structure of the School Safety and Security Department at Los Lunas Schools. And on February 18th, when the board had its second reading, we were very, very close, but the board asked to consider, raised 4 issues that needed to be edited, not including the word "and" that should be down to "and," Member Vickers. So besides that edit that was tough and stayed in there for a couple iterations, there were 4 other topics, and that was to be slightly less specific about the law enforcement agencies in, by what I mean, or what I'm stating is not to state the specific agencies, but make it a little bit broader to encompass law enforcement agencies that serve our district. That was one edit, and I'll walk you through these, but I want to hit the top lines on it. Another edit dealing with the development of the standard operating procedures and having those go through the superintendent prior to coming to the board. Making edits of antiquated language that was in another policy about certificated school personnel and making it absolutely clear that we're talking about certified administrators. And then also the issue was raised about exigent circumstances. We have very detailed search policies and practices addressed here in other policies, but there was a gap. It didn't address exigent circumstances where immediate health and safety was at stake. So we made those edits. So everything that's highlighted in yellow is what has changed from the second reading to the third reading. At the bottom of the first paragraph, the word "and" has finally changed to "and." Then on the last 3 lines there, we deleted the very specific reference to the Valencia County Sheriff's Office and/or through the Village of Los Lunas Police Department. And we replaced that with the reference of, and I'll read the final phrase there. Each officer shall be an employee and agent of the district and shall possess and maintain a law enforcement commission through local law enforcement agencies serving the district. Because we have potential agencies that can assist us that are beyond the 2 that we named prior. Okay, so that's the first edit. Second edit is in the second paragraph on the first page of the policy. You see it there, adding the language "and approved by the superintendent." To read it in context, it says officers in the Safety and Security Department shall be subject to the board's policies and administrative regulations, and in addition shall be subject to standard operating procedures developed by the Safety and Security Department and approved by the superintendent. A previous edit comes in at the end of this paragraph. It's not a change, but I want to remind the board that it's there because the board asked for it in a previous edit. And that's that final sentence. At least annually, the supervisor of the Safety and Security Department shall present its standard operating procedures to the board for review and approval. That remains from previous edits. If you'll scan down to the next yellow lines. Okay. On this particular page, again, we're getting into the issues of searches. And the old edits, the previous edits that are not highlighted, put this in context with our other board policies. But I had lifted old language from other policies. This is where you see the deletion of certificated school personnel and replaced with licensed administrators. Further on down, the next deletion in black, actually, if you go up just a little bit, was a typo that I found. May monitor may be present. It just lacked the and, so may monitor and be present to assist.
I missed out.
Yes, yes. I'm your backup editor, member of the course. And then again, we made another replacement of certificated school personnel with licensed administrator. And then at the end of that same paragraph, we add, if you'll go up one line, other direction, it's okay, right there. That's where I added that final sentence. Only under exigent circumstances with an immediate and serious threat to health and safety may an officer initiate a search. And I hate to be overly grave about it, but if you imagine an active shooter where an officer has confronted and isolated them, the ability to search and retrieve the weapon in that moment so that there's no additional threat. That's what that would cover. Okay, in the next paragraph, again, we're replacing certificated school personnel. And I don't recall if that's the last edit. If you can scan down.
Yep.
And that is the last edit. And I've covered the 4 items that were raised by the board, subjects that were raised by the board at the February 18th meeting. And with those, I stand for questions.
I want to, first of all, thank you for all of your work. I know that we've put you through your paces on this particular one because we are taking this very seriously. I know I have some questions about arresting, about our school resource officers conducting any arrest on a campus. And I'm not sure that I have all the information that I need, not because you have been negligent whatsoever. It's because this was recently raised for me, and then I've had some time to kind of commiserate on it a little bit, I guess, or perseverate maybe on it. Why would we not have arrests made by the local law enforcement agency? Can you help me understand why it would be beneficial to have our school resource officers arrest on site? I think maybe part of my concern, and again, I've been perseverating on it, and I really haven't found my words, so I'm being very clumsy here. How does that benefit our schools and not confuse the role of an SRO if we allow arrests? I appreciate the commissioning, I appreciate all of that, but I'm wondering if we are graying the lines. Can you help me with this? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, board president, I understand what you're saying. And the paragraph you're referencing is the second paragraph on the first page. Officers in the Safety and Security Department shall be subject to the board's policies. I'm sorry, the third paragraph.
Right.
Officers are certified and commissioned law enforcement officers with comparable police authority to local departments. As such, they have the authority to make arrests, and with this authority comes constitutional and statutory responsibilities and limitations. Because they are commissioned, they have the authority to. The question can be a little bit more policy and structure and standard operating procedures, which will need to come before you. And they may have the ability to, but the proper question is, should they? And what I can tell you off the top of my head with this question is, without the commissions and without the law enforcement commissions, there are limitations on detention of individuals. Because they are commissioned, it grants them that additional authority to detain. I think through the SOPs, the question may be, and it's a continuum. Where does a detention become an arrest? And so if they're not commissioned, there's going to be a place where detaining someone is going to maybe outside their authority if they're not commissioned, because they can sit in both places. First of all. Second of all, I think again, through the SOPs, the question will be, what does arrest mean? Does it mean arrest and transport? Or does it mean arrest as far as a detention of a suspect and then calling law enforcement to come and transfer that individual from the SRO's possession into law enforcement's possession? So it's a good thing to have in there to protect the district's authority to detain someone, even if it's detain someone until such time as the local law enforcement can then and remove that person from.
So your guidance then, if I'm hearing you correctly, is the question, should they, and then how should they, really should come down to the standard operating procedures.
Correct.
So that we're all in agreement there. That's your advice, right?
That is, the SOPs are the proper place to address policies and procedures, not
Right, not
policies.
policy, correct.
So your board policy is an umbrella policy that states the bigger, broader policy. Your SOPs are the implementation of your policy. Very much like regulations would be implementation of the statute.
Right.
Dr. Osowski,
Yes, Mr. Talley.
would there be a reason you would not want them to arrest? And I ask this because, say in his example of a school shooter or active shooter, I think that you would want the SRO to do everything in its capability to detain.
Absolutely.
And, right? I don't know that, I mean, if there is criminal activity happening at the school, I don't know why we would not want the SRO to detain and arrest those involved.
I don't know, in my brain, that's where I said I'm clumsy with this. Of course, if there was something horrific happening at one of our schools, absolutely, right? We want all measures to be taken to secure and protect, absolutely. But I'm thinking about the little, kind of the stuff that's not quite there. And maybe the potentially unnecessary exertion of, I can arrest, I can detain. And I'm concerned more about those areas, but your response to me that would be specified in the standard operating procedures to where it would be more clear helps me with that. The big stuff, of course, absolutely. That's why we have gone through this effort to make sure that we have this and everybody is protected and following this. But it's the gray areas, right? It's the stuff in those little bitty areas that I worry about how we could respond to that. And at some point in time, if it would be too much response or not enough response, I guess. That's where I'm kind of wrestling a little bit. But I like the response about clarifying that in the standard operating procedures and using the expertise of our staff to help guide that. Absolutely. Does that help you with where I'm wrestling?
Yes.
In my head? Okay.
Madam President, the SOPs also tend to be a lot more nimble. Your board policies you're gonna adopt, they're gonna be a little bit more static and less detailed. And the SOPs are gonna be a little bit more nimble to be updated for modern and best practices. And of course, they've got to go through the superintendent and annually come to the board.
Absolutely. That was my one comment. Any comments from my colleagues? Mr. Vickers, do you have any comments or questions, any concerns?
No, I thank you for your work. I'm sure you're well paid, so. Appreciate you working us through this.
Thank you. I want to thank not only the board, but also the superintendent for the leadership and the staff from all levels, from the cabinet through the SROs. There's been a lot of good input and feedback to provide this policy. So it's been worth the time that the board has requested to get this done.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett, any questions, comments, or concerns?
But my only concern is the standards of procedures, you know, being put in this policy up front, so we know exactly what we're getting and what they're getting.
That's the next project. That will take some time also. And if we're assigned to work on that, we've got a really good lawyer that has spent time with municipalities, law enforcement, as well as on the defense side, who's going to know the SOPs.
So if I heard you correct, you said that would be the next project. I thought we had standard operating procedures.
Correct, but they were prior to this board policy
Okay.
creation.
So a review of them. What I mean by next project is we've got the policy because we need to be in compliance for insurance purposes, et cetera, with the policy that reflects your structure, authorizes your structure, and then the next project is to conduct a review and update of the SOPs, which is normal. You have SOPs, they are in place, but I don't remember the date on them, but they're always in need of review and update. And if they're to be annually presented to you, there should be a review and update to present to you.
Do you know when the last time they were reviewed, Mrs. Chavez?
I do not have the date, but I do have two SROs in the room that I would like to defer that question to.
Please, yes, it helps for the YouTube, so absolutely. Thank you very much.
I have it on my server, but I can't.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. Absolutely.
Madam President, board members, Superintendent Chavez, I know that they were reviewed and updated prior to the school year. I know that, but again, as our lawyer said, that based on the board policy, we would have to review them and make some changes to that. And if I could address the concern about when we would arrest somebody, I can tell you that in my 11 years here, I think that's maybe occurred 2 times. I think the last time I even put handcuffs on somebody was when Mr. Seife was in a knockdown drag out fight with a student in his conference room. So he remembers that. So and that gray area you're talking about is those are in the form of referrals. There would never be an arrest in those gray areas that you're talking about. Some circumstances that we would call exigent circumstances, somebody that's armed and it needs an immediate arrest. Those are circumstances where, yes, we would effect an arrest. However, the gray areas, all that other stuff is always comes in the form of referrals, and we work with the administrator to handle those things, and very, very, very seldom do we apply any type of restraint on any student. We avoid that at all costs because of the relationship that we want with our students and our staff. So those things are very rare just.
Is
so you know.
is that clarified currently in this SOPs that you're?
It's in our SOP. It's in our SOP. We'd have to go back and take a look to see how detailed that is, to make sure that everybody understands that. And I know that we're complying with it, because anybody who puts handcuffs or thinks that there is an arrest has to be made, has to go through all the way to the supervisor, even the superintendent. So yeah, those things are addressed.
Okay, and officers are trained on the SOP?
Yes, ma'am. Every officer has a copy of the SOP, and every officer is responsible for knowing the SOP and all the workings in that SOP.
Okay, and so that's currently included to cover this gray area that I'm.
I would have to look to see how detailed it is. It is in SOP where it says circumstances where we would file charges or arrest or things of that nature, but I have to look at it again to see how detailed that is.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
coming in. Appreciate
ma'am.
it. Thank you very much.
One addition I'd like to make to the restraint, there is PED guidance on restraint and seclusion that is very specific to what we are allowed to do and what we are not allowed to.
Correct.
And it's very clear that restraint is the last possible measure if the student is in dire danger.
And-
Other than that, we do not put our hands on students.
Okay, and is that included in the SOPs? The current language from the PED?
I do not know, but I will check.
Okay. Okay.
And we are checking on the date that we have for those SOPs.
Okay.
So you have that information.
Did you have other questions, Mr. Bennett? Mr. Tillman, questions?
No, thank you for putting this together. This has been good to go through and finally hopefully have something on the books for policy.
It's been a process, hasn't it?
It's been a process.
Working on it
It's
for quite a
something
while. It's good work. Mrs. Simoia?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring this down a little bit, the excitement of this. Policy plus procedure is basically what's going to protect us in a court of law, correct?
First and foremost, it's going to protect us by providing policies and procedures so that the employees of the district know how to act appropriately.
Correct.
And then those policies and procedures will get referenced in court proceedings, whether criminal or civil.
So if we pass a policy that has SOP references the SOP more than 5 times, and there's no SOP to reference it, or the SOP, it doesn't include certain items, that's the loophole that someone who wants to sue the district is going to look at, correct?
More often than not, it's about compliance with the SOPs. If you set out a policy, and you set out SOPs,
Mhm.
more often than not in litigation, they're going to see one, are your SOPs compliant with the law and best practices? And 2, did you follow them? And the biggest risk in litigation is whether or not you followed your policies and your SOPs.
And the SOPs together. So without knowing if our SOPs meet these, follow along with the policy, we're only halfway done.
So with this new policy that's bringing in the annual review
Mhm.
and the annual approval, you are pushing that process. The good thing is you have SOPs. What you need to do now that you're adopting the policy is conduct the annual review of the SOPs to ensure that they're up to date and they contain the best practices.
So if we approve this policy tonight and something happens tomorrow, and we haven't even had the opportunity, because I haven't, I've come on as an appointed board member a little after this began, I believe. So I came on a little behind the thing, and something happens and the district is going to be sued. They're going to ask for a copy of our policy, and they're gonna go out, ask for the current SOP, correct?
Madam President, Board Member Simoia, short answer is yes, but it tends to be a little bit of a chicken and egg on that. If you don't pass it tonight, then the question is, you don't have a policy for this structure.
We
do
still
you?
don't have a policy.
Yeah, and so you've got a checklist you've got to get through. And so getting the board policy is in place is important for a few reasons. One, we started this discussion through POMS and through NIPSIA because you don't, on the books right now, you actually have a policy. It's a sentence or two long. It says the superintendent can do whatever's needed for safety and security.
Right.
So it's deficient. This would get a board policy in place. You have SOPs in place. The SOPs need to be reviewed. So you're sort of darned if you do. If you pass a policy today and something happens tomorrow, the question is, hey, you have a policy, but are your SOPs compliant? Something happens tomorrow and you don't pass it, they're going to say you don't have a board policy for this structure. So I don't have a perfect solution for you than that, except to start going through your checklist and getting the puzzle pieces you need in place.
Is there a particular reason that the SOP has not been shared with the board despite multiple requests for it?
That request hasn't come through me, so I'm not able to.
So when the discussion started, the SOPs were shared, and that was back in late August, early September in a packet during a work session. It was not in a board meeting,
Well,
but there were many,
those-
many questions regarding those SOPs.
Those were SOPs.
Those were SOPs that were given. And we just looked at the date. They are not dated, but they were reviewed prior to this year is what I've been told, but there's not a date on the SOP. So I can't confidently tell you that they were dated for this school year. Because there's not a date. But the SOPs were part of a board packet
Right, I remember.
for your work session.
But given the contents from what I read at that time, I don't know how any of my colleagues feel, but
And it
I'm
was
kinda
many months
stumbling
ago.
here because I did not have the sense that that was
That
an
was a
SOP.
policy. No.
I have
Right.
the sense that that was kind of accepted or preferred practice or, I mean, we had things in there for crying out loud about shirts. Do you
Correct.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
The entire.
And I think
So
we
I-
included the MOUs that were in there. It was a bound.
Right, right.
Book.
And the MOUs were out of date and the
Correct.
people that signed them, I mean.
There was many
2019,
questions.
I think,
There, and that's what led us to
right.
this next step with the policies to say this is where we need to go.
I don't remember that.
So I definitely hear your warning to us, and that is we have to start somewhere.
And the question is, do you continue with the structure that hasn't been formally approved by the board? And that comes up that could come up as one of the alternate questions here. Is you currently don't have a board policy that reflects the structure that you have in place as a school district.
So this has taken us since
August.
August to get here. So 4, 5, 6, 7 months. We cannot take 7 months for an SOP. How quickly could this be reviewed and back to us? Because 7 months for all that is holy in this earth universe, 7 months for one policy. We've got 700 pages of board policy and we've done 2. Our proficiency rating is really low. So is there an estimate here of some time?
I can work with our safety and security department team members and we can work on that and make that priority to have it ready within our next board meeting
For review?
for review. And I know we have many dates that are coming up
Yes.
for meetings, so that could be an agenda item.
Okay. Would that alleviate some of your concerns to have them by the next board policy, Mrs. Simoia?
I would like to be able to confidently review that SOP, attach it to this and then you have one complete document and it's signed, sealed, delivered and effective right on that vote.
Madam President, Board Member Simoia, I want to manage folks' expectations.
Yes.
The attorney, if our law firm is chosen to also review the SOPs, having attorney review and research, again, working with the SROs and the Safety and Security Department to review and update, That is not something that I would want to rush, but I think starting the process and moving the process very diligently and in a structured manner would be important. I don't want anyone to interpret the words that, oh, we can have the SOPs in a condition that they can be approved in the very next board meeting. But
From a legal perspective. In other words,
from a legal review and
Review
research
perspective.
perspective.
but as
and
you're saying,
update.
right now, we're already functioning with an SOP dated 2019 and a policy that has 2 sentences in it right now. We are
Right.
functioning like that right now.
You're functioning like that right now. And just for an annual review, I think in hindsight, now that we're talking about SOPs, would have been in hindsight, oh, get a lawyer working on reviewing the SOPs that starting in August, so that these are dovetailing together. But here we are today talking about doing an SOP review. And I don't want folks to think an overnight review would be the best thing to do. But starting that process, getting it in place as quickly as possible, yes, we would dedicate our resources to do that. If it's us or another law firm, same thing, another law firm, I would hope that the expectation would be the same.
Or whether or not we would even need a law firm to review a procedural document for law enforcement that's usually criminal law or whatever, where we do have qualified SROs that have experience, have come from law enforcement backgrounds that can say, yeah, this is standard. When I worked here, this was standard. This is good. Maybe we send questions accordingly when they get stuck on something. But I do think we have the staff that could actually present an SOP to us, and it would be a qualified SOP.
I do want to give a visual of what the SOP looks like.
Yeah.
So this is what was given to you all at a work session. I misspoke. The MOUs are not included in the SOPs, but they were part of your packets that
They
you
were part of the
received.
packet.
So I do apologize. I did misspeak on that, but this is a visual of what is the SOP currently. But it does not have a date. But it was reviewed prior to the beginning of the school year, but it is not dated.
And
Thank you for doing that. I definitely hear your concern, Mrs. Simoia, that we don't have these in front of us. And quite frankly, the quality was not something that I would have considered an SOP, so I'm raised. But I also appreciate your caution that we don't have a structure. We're operating off of 2 lines. So, okay. Are there any other questions? No questions? No questions? Mr. Talley? No questions? I have a look to my left, so. No questions. Mrs. Simoia, any other questions? No questions, no. Okay, thank you very much for being with us.
yes,
Okay. This was a presentation and approval of board policy. So the approval part would come with requesting, or if there is a motion from the board about the approving this policy, E100 or 1000 School Safety and Security Department and School Resource Officers. Do I have a motion to approve this board policy?
Dr. Osowski,
Yes, Mr. Talley.
I would move that we table this until next board meeting when we can look at the SOPs. And at that point, based off of what we learned from the SOPs, then we can also motion to approve this policy.
Do I have a second to Mr. Talley's motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I have a motion by Mr. Talley and a second by Mr. Bennett to table the approval of board policy E1000 School Safety and Security Department and School Resource Officers. Is there any discussion?
So I just want to say, based on that, I think we definitely need a policy and we've taken a long time to get there. But also because we discussed that we would have the review of the policy potentially at the next board meeting. There's no
This SOP.
SOP, yes, sorry, excuse me.
That's okay.
That at that point, I think that would ease her concerns. And I just think it'd be a good idea to wait
Okay.
until then.
Well, I know I have the concerns and I would like to see some of these things more clarified and addressed. So absolutely. Any other discussion?
It seems to me, Madam Chair, that we've amended the policy numerous times. We've settled on the wording of the policy. And I really think we should just proceed with the policy and then proceed with the SOP.
Okay.
Following that, generally, we don't get involved with SOPs and regulations. That's really the superintendent's purview. And we have inserted ourselves into that in this case. So I think we need to take that first step. And then proceed as quickly as is prudent to the SOP issue.
So in terms of inserting ourselves into reading a policy, we approved one tonight by consent. And then we've had the student behavior handbook in front of us, and we've had the athletic handbook, which we've tabled until it was updated. So one of the things that I definitely learned at our last training was that the board is responsible for those things, and this is part of the reason we picked them back up to start talking about approving them. But very good point about the prudency. Is there any other comments for
So
the
I-
discussion part?
I'd
Mr.
just like to respond to that as well. He's not incorrect. However, this particular policy specifically calls out that the SOPs also be presented and approved by the board. So I understand the hesitancy and I also understand the urgency.
It's a catch-22,
It is a catch-22.
but getting it right is also that's important. Okay,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Follow up on that. If we don't approve this, then we have no mandate to review the SOP because the SOP is in here, not in the existing policy. Approving the SOP.
That's true. That is a good technical point there. We have no mandate to approve it. Because this would be in the policy. I
Okay.
like it when we're all working together. Great brains up here, helping us make sure that we navigate this accurately. Is there any other discussion?
What would the lawyer's opinion be on that?
Free legal advice.
Yeah.
Right here.
But we're-
Madam President, Board Member Talley, because I've been asked,
Yes.
I would recommend approving the policy this evening. Getting the authorization, now that Member Vickers has mentioned, the authorization to review the SOPs comes from the new policy, not from the old one. And then diligently go to the SOPs. The lawyers in my firm get tired of me saying this. At every decision point, there's only two answers, yes or no. Be prepared for both. 1 month from now, you will either be satisfied with the SOPs or you will not. If you are not, then your board policy, recognizing your structure for insurance and liability purposes, then gets delayed to the next board meeting. Will you be satisfied with the SOPs at the next board meeting, either yes or no? So be prepared. What you have certain before you is a policy that's been reviewed for 6 months and the language is acceptable and it reflects the intent of the board. And then that's going to enable you to get to the SOPs. You get in place your certainty and then you move through the SOPs and you get those to the review and certainty that you need on that. Just my opinion. I'm only an advisor and a recommender. The 5 of you are the decision makers.
Did that answer your question, Mr. Talley?
Yes. So I think I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Want to withdraw your motion? Mr. Bennett, do you withdraw your second?
Yes.
We are back to, is there a motion to approve board policy E-1000 School Safety and Security Department and School Resource Officers.
I move to approve the policy E-1000.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any more discussion?
Please, no.
Wait, I'm trying to look enthusiastic without yet more discussion. No discussion, Mr. Bennett, any comments? Mr. Tally? Anything on this motion? Do you have any discussion?
I'm good.
You're good, Mrs. Simoia? Yeah, we're good. I think the only thing that I would say is we're not dilly-dallying. We want those SOPs and it will be on the next board agenda. It's will not be moved.
We've already started the process.
Perfecto. I am going to call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Tally,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. Your work.
Thank you.
You
Thank
got
you.
one across the line. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We have worked you hard. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all for the hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Zamora.
Thank you.
We are now on item M4A, approval of purchases, specifically Roberts Truck Center, Facilities Department for warehouse delivery box truck from the 11,000 operational fund.
Madam President.
Mrs. Simoia.
I would like to go ahead and ask just a few questions for explanation purposes. Whenever we purchase vehicles, I like the public to understand why we're making these outlays. So if we could ask for a little more information about the box truck, the use, what it's replacing, et cetera.
Madam President,
That
members
was
of the board.
So sorry.
Acting Superintendent, this is Travis. The first box truck is for the warehouse. The warehouse only has one delivery truck. And it is a 2002, so it's over 20 years old. It actually is not bad on mileage, however, it is having some issues. And it's starting to get expensive to repair. Excuse me. So I'll kind of go over some of the things that it has. The flooring in the back of it is rotting and has holes in it.
Okay.
There's a problem with the lift on it. It is hard to start in the winter. The heater doesn't work. The rear door is hard to open. It's open using a pry bar. And the side mirror doesn't stay in place while driving.
Okay.
And it is low on power when it's going up a hill. So probably the better question
You
is,
have
why
me
did we wait so long?
Yes. I was gonna say, you had me at 2002 20 plus. Yeah.
Although,
Holes in the floor.
yeah,
Okay.
hard to start in the winter. I'm hard to start in the winter and I don't want to be replaced yet, so I want to take a
My
chance.
hair is moved.
So it has a few issues and it's getting to where, actually, there's not a local, repair place in town, to repair it. And it's so getting it repaired does take a long time. And that is the truck that delivers. So I'm sure you probably all realize that everything goes into our warehouse, everything we purchase. And then the warehouse distributes it out to the school sites.
And
So,
so we're in pretty desperate.
yes, we are. This
No,
is
no
actually
further
gonna,
questions.
it is gonna take a while to come in. So this probably is going to be something that will need to be budgeted for next fiscal year. But, we're actually trying to buy one that since, we obviously kept this one for a very long time. We're trying to buy one that we think is perfect for us. This one also was chosen because our diesel mechanics that we have in transportation will be able to work on it. So the problem with this other one where we have to go to Albuquerque to have it repaired, and it's taking a long time. Our mechanics are able to work on this one, and that's why this one was chosen.
Thank you very much. I would stand for a motion to approve item M4A, Roberts Truck Facilities Department for the warehouse delivery box truck from the 11,000 operational fund.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Tally. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Taking notes. Hold on just a moment, please. Is there any discussion about this? Are there any questions you'd like to ask Mrs. Tracy? No discussion. I'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Tally, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion passes 5-0. On item M4, approval of purchases, item E, Tillery Bus Sales Transportation Department propane activity bus from the 11,000 operational. Mrs. Tracy, welcome back.
Madam President, members of the board, acting superintendent, Mrs. Travis. So this, we have an opportunity to get an activity bus at a reduced price. It is $50,000 less than it normally is. So I'm Mark, the transportation director, was here to speak on this, but had to leave for a family emergency. So I can't get too specific on some of the things. He was going to mention just all the amounts of the traveling that we are using with our activity buses. Right now, we have so many of the can't even
Activity things, correct?
yes, yeah, all the activity, but the when you take the kids to go to the, they'll go to Explore or something
field
like
trip.
that, so field trips, there you go. What are those things in a little late? I'm a little sick and a little tired. So yes, they're the amount of field trips that we have and come in at a certain time. So there are quite a few things, the athletics that we have. And a lot of times, there's this school going this way, this school going that way. So the need for activity buses is great. A lot of the activity buses that we do have at the time do have very high mileage. And so.
And I think in finance, I think some of the other details that you added for finance that I'll add here was that this, it is a propane activity bus, so we can go from here to Moriarty and back. It could go from here to Carrizozo and back. It could go from here to Santa Fe and back. And then Grants, was it
I
Grants
believe it
and
was
back?
grants, yes.
And we have currently on the books between now and the end of school year, almost 380 scheduled activities.
I believe that's just for the month of March.
Oh, that's just for the month of March? Okay,
Correct.
We
so
don't
that was a
have it.
correction.
Right, so
And-
that was one of the things, so I didn't remember the number Mark was gonna mention,
Right.
just some of those trips that are.
Including spring break. We still have that many
And
activities.
our understanding in finance was that this vehicle is readily available, correct?
Yes, so
So,
we will be
for
able to
delivery.
purchase this in this fiscal year. Okay. Let's
Um,
our cash
We
receipts.
also noted in finance,
Mhm.
because I would like everybody informed, this is going to come to us as a plain white bus right now.
Our best.
So we will need to talk about the graphics to go on it.
Eventually.
Because for the other activity bus, that was quite expensive and we had some thoughts, but they're probably not the best thoughts as we got a little silly in finance. So, but it will come as a plain white bus, so we
Yes.
still have to take care of some of those accoutrements
Right.
to
At
get
that
it to the standard from our other activity buses.
So yes, we have a plain slate, and so we're planning on giving you options where, here's the Taj Mahal, and then here is, maybe just, the decals or so we're gonna try and,
Give the art class and spray paint.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
may have come up in finance.
We did come up with, there could be some fun ideas, and
Sure.
so we're gonna see what could be done and what the cost will be for that, and we can decide what we think is best on it. So we have a clean slate, white bus, so we can do what we want.
Perfect. Thank you. I would stand for a motion to approve
Dr.
item.
Wazowski, before we, sorry,
I'm so sorry. You took my question?
propane activity bus, do we have the facilities to fill the propane or do we have?
We're currently getting, yes, we have a tank that was delivered that will be, you had already approved for a bar to put that in, but we had to pay for the tank that was delivered first, and then we have to go through an RTOF with the PED on the OBMS. Once that's approved, they'll be starting the installation for that. So we will have our own propane tank.
Is there any added certification that someone needs to drive a propane fuel bus, or is that?
That I do not know.
I wouldn't imagine so, but there is potential.
That's a good question.
Question?
We currently have propane vehicles. correct?
Yes, we do.
Right.
We have several propane
Okay.
buses, so. I'm not sure about driving one, probably, I'm sure filling them up.
Okay. Good questions. Thank you.
And on the propane license, that's only if you're delivering and actually distributing, for them to actually use it in at the yard to plug in, there's no certification for that. Like your gas.
Cool.
Or electric.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your participation. I would stand for a motion to approve item M4, approval of purchases, item E, Tillery Bus Sales, Transportation Department, the propane activity bus from the 11,000 operational fund.
So move.
Okay, Mrs. Simoia, thank you for your motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Thank you for your second. Motion, Simoia, second. Bennett. I have, Mrs. Simoia has moved, Mr. Bennett has seconded to approve item M4, approval of purchases, item E, Tillery Bus Sales, Transportation Department, a propane activity bus from the 11,000 operational account. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Nope. Having no discussion, I'm going to call for the vote. Mrs. Simoia,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Tally,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. I am now on item M7, approval of grant award and memorandum of understanding, MOU, between Los Lunas Schools and Future Focused Education for Los Lunas High School, Valencia High School, and Century High School, funded through the New Mexico Public Education Department. I was one of the board members that dissented on this. I would like the entire board to hear what this MOU is about and have a better understanding of what it was about. So Mrs. Chavez, do you have?
I do, yes, and I will have Mrs. Montano provide the explanation of the MOU.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, I'm actually going to hand this over to Ms. Chelsea Cervantes. She is our Director of Secondary Programs, and she's a lot more intimate with this because she has worked with our counselors in administration with this MOU. And thank you, Chelsea.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight regarding the Graduate Reengagement Internship Program, MOU. This is an agreement potentially between Los Lunas High School and Valencia High School. So take me to the first slide. I just want to give you a brief overview of what this program consists of. So it's two-pronged. The student internship piece is a paid stipend of $13.50. That is given in 2 installments, one at the halfway mark throughout the program, and then one upon program completion. In order to be considered program completion, the student must participate in 92% of the work milestones in the community partnership. And they must work with an employer or participate in a community-based project. And throughout this project, they will also be developing oral and written presentations with a body of work to demonstrate standards and competencies. And then the other half of that, of course, is the teachers that will be determining if our students have reached those competencies. We have the teachers that participate will get a paid stipend of $2,500. This is paid through Future Focused Education. And they also need to reach a 92% attendance rate. They have 7 sessions of a professional learning community that is statewide. They meet every other week on Mondays from 4 to 5:30. We did have teachers participate in the first professional development cycle that happened on March 17th. They are also in charge of meeting with our seniors weekly to develop projects that are aligned to the standards and competencies as determined by the needs of the students. And they also identify and support community internship placements. So over and above this, each school also receives $100 per student to support other program needs, such as time card pay for those content area teachers, and to help determine the proficiency of standards and create rubrics for that proficiency of standard. Our student selection criteria was really given to us in broad terms through this grant program. So the students must be current seniors, eligible to graduate in the cohort of 2025 and be in need of no more than 6 recovery credits to graduate in May. There is a possible extension for students to work into the beginning of June if needed, but our target goal is May, because we want these students also to be able to participate in all of the graduation events and celebrate with their families as they walk the stage. Los Lunas High School did identify 28 seniors. Valencia High School did identify 12 seniors. Due to the low student teacher ratio needed, Los Lunas High School has 2 teachers participating, 1 ELA and 1 math teacher, and VHS has 1 teacher participating, an ELA teacher. So here's our timeline. It was pretty quick. So we started on February 18th with an informational Zoom with Future Focused Education. On February 21st, I met with all of the site principals to discuss this program. This is a site-based program, so we didn't have to enter in as a district. Each site was given the opportunity to participate or not if they felt like this was something that could be supported through their structures, their students, their teachers, and their communities. They then had about 1 week to determine if they wanted to participate and submit their application. And then by March 7th, we had already been told that we had been accepted into the program. And we did attend an informational meeting at the Ed Uprising Conference in Albuquerque on March 7th to ask all of our many questions. And so again, our teachers did have the opportunity to participate via Zoom in their first learning community on March 17th. I stand for questions.
So I'm gonna offer questions to my colleagues first before I dive in. I'm sure you've been brief.
Sounds great.
Mr. Vickers, any questions? No. Mr. Bennett? Mr. Talley?
Yeah, just a couple questions. The one of the first slides said the student internship, the students get a stipend. Did I read that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Another thing, on the agenda, it says the memorandum is for Los Lunas High School, Valencia High School, and Century High School, but your presentation did not include Century High School.
That is correct. Century High School did have the opportunity to participate in this program. They opted not to.
All right.
Mrs. Simoia?
No questions. Great presentation. Thank you, honey.
Second slide, please. Whoops. So I want to talk about what my concerns were that I heard in finance, so I'll wait for the slide to come back up. Third right there. The students who are selected are students, and who would receive this payment are students who are not ready to graduate on time. So we would have 28 seniors in Los Lunas High School, 12 seniors at Valencia High who are missing no more than 6 credits, but could receive the stipend when kids who've been coming to school on time, kids who've been meeting the expectations, some of them we've had here tonight, outstanding students, would not qualify for the stipend, including the internship. I'm not going to lie, that bothers me. It tells me that we are rewarding students.
So
That's my concern. That's why I dissented this and I wanted more information.
This is no more than 6. Does that mean that they have to be in need of some recovery credits?
Yes.
They must be in need of some recovery
Oh.
credits, but
It could be one.
no, it could be anywhere from 1 recovery credit to 6 recovery credits.
My feeling on this too, I agree with the statement that we're rewarding bad behavior, but we're also rewarding. There are circumstances that are beyond certain individuals' controls for reasons. I echo Mr. Talley's sentiment. I think that this should appeal to our Century High School participants, but I understand getting attendance is even difficult if you're supporting your family and working and trying to go to school and balance everything. I don't want to. This is funded through PED, correct?
That is correct.
So it's funded through PED, so our taxes are already paying for this opportunity. If there are students within our district that meet these qualifications, we're already paying for it anyways. I'd like to see them utilize this service, but I do agree with the statement. It does reward.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how what was the criteria? And we have our building leaders here. What was the criteria to select these seniors? Because I have to tell you, it is sticking in my craw that if this is high absenteeism, high tardies, not turning in work, that's sticking in my craw. That does not make us premier. And we are rewarding that kind of bad behavior. If on the other hand, as Mrs. Simoia accurately pointed out, we've had some kids there's been some issue that this board does not need to know about, of course. And so it's been a stumble and this would help correct that path, then absolutely. But what's the criteria? Because boy, I'm not gonna lie, it's sticking with me.
So yes, to speak to that, the original criteria and the numbers that you see up there are specifically just looking at students who are in need of anywhere from 1 to 6 credits. Again, that turnaround time on the application was very tight. This is also a relatively new idea, right? That PED is looking at alternative ways to honor both our teachers' expertise and our students' ability to learn outside of the school confines, and saying that maybe there are some other ways that we can show proficiency through a different process. So as such, their criteria were very broad. And so in the application process, we also did not have, they just simply asked the question, how many students do you have that meet this criteria? So they did not ask us to look deeper than that. I will say that in the initial conversations that our sites have had with these students, it is becoming more apparent what students are going to be given and not given, but afforded an opportunity that they desperately want and need in order to graduate through the conversations with the students. I know of a few that would be those extenuating circumstances that you alluded to. And then some that truly are due to a negligence on the student's part. And those may not be students that actually end up in this program once we have those initial conversations with them, talking about what are the standards that they need to meet, and are they actually capable of meeting, again, that 92% completion rate.
So they would be some of these students could be doing an internship to pass their math requirements for graduation.
It's possible.
If
However,
their peers have passed their math requirement or their English requirement or their economics requirement, maybe by the skin of their teeth, because a D- counts.
Absolutely. That is correct. Yes.
So Mrs. Cervantes, if I can add some more information, and speaking for students with disabilities who are not on a standard pathway, the pathways are currently changing, but because of their IEPs, they do have internship programs such as this to obtain those credits. So that is something that would be considered. So it could be students with disabilities that would be part of this as well. They are not on a standard pathway. So that would look different as far as their eligibility for post-secondary options immediately following graduation.
See, and I don't object to anything like that. I absolutely appreciate that. My objection are those kids who made choices and they were still selected. Mr. Bennett?
Yeah, my question is, are the counselors involved in this decision? Because they probably would know the student a lot more. than
Yes.
Someone just taking an application.
So we have a team of people who are working with these students. That includes our counselors, our college, career, military and trade specialists, the actual teacher themselves that are going to be checking in with that student, and administration. So there's a team of people coming around these students and trying to help them find, their pathway to graduation. Yeah.
Are there comparable programs for people who are on a standard path, getting a 3.5 average or whatever, where they can earn the same type of stipend?
We do have opportunities for students who are eligible for things like early release. So our seniors who are on track for graduation, have done all the things that they need to do. We do have work-based learning and internship opportunities that we do offer them through Los Lunas schools.
Including the student mentor program.
Yes.
And they can use those to supplement or take in place of, say, a math class that.
Not yet. However, that being stated, our graduation requirements are updating, beginning with the incoming freshman class. And part of that graduation manual update is that work-based learning and CTE courses can work towards core course requirements when certain stipulations have been met. Now, what exactly that looks like, we don't know yet. We're waiting for the manual to come out on that. But generally speaking, there's a team of teachers similarly to what I spoke to that is helping these students. They come together, they determine what standards need to be met. What does it look like to meet that standard? What kind of experiences and then demonstration of work or demonstration of competency are necessary in order to show that the student has reached that standard of expectation.
Would you mind putting those standards back up again?
So
And
when
the-
she's
Slide
ta-
with the standards. Thank you.
when she's talking about standards, though, she's talking about content.
That's correct.
standards.
I'm talking about the New Mexico state standards,
Right,
like,
and so when we're talking
Mhm.
about these students, when teachers are meeting and discussing a student.
Mhm.
While every other student had to meet all of the standards and not receive payment, these students selected would only be identified to receive or to be addressing some of the math standards in that class, and then also receive $2,700,
$13.50.
just $13.50.
Yes,
Paid in two
$13.50.
Okay, that's.
So I think that, I do not want to put our principals on the spot. However, they are very close to the students and part of this, and they've been a part of this process. So if I could have Mr. Tiger and Mrs. Otero, Mr. Aragon, if you feel like you need to provide information as well, but if you could come to the podium and talk more about this program and how you have been a part of this. With maintaining the confidentiality because it is a small number of students.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you both.
Madam President, members of the board, the students that we've been looking at Valencia High School have not been students that have been not already identified. When you said our counseling team has already been working with these students for many months prior to this moment, but this is an opportunity to get students who are working full-time who can't make it to first period because they have to close at Albertsons and they need the opportunity to be able to gain credits because they have other obligations that have limited their ability to pass what they need to pass. So short credits, maybe 3 or 4. We're looking at that small group, but also giving them the opportunity to what they're doing at Albertsons may be comparable to gaining that financial literacy credit.
So you've been judicious with looking at which students
Case by
And you
case.
looked for those students who had an extenuating circumstance.
Or
as
are- or
opposed to the
continue
student
to-
Who is not,
Hold a job that limits their ability to fulfill the requirements that the
Okay.
class is expecting.
okay, so you feel confident with the students that you've selected?
I do. I do. We have not presented that very much more information. We were waiting for the guidance from yourself.
We all are waiting for guidance.
Madam President, members of the board and acting superintendent Chavez, I'd like to echo what Ms. Otero just said. And even though we've identified 28 students and we had that quick turnaround, I don't think that all 28 will participate in this. I think the students that we see that will participate in this are the ones that Ms. Otero described that do have these hardships, and they do see this as an opportunity for them, you know, to be able to continue to work and to gain the credits that they need. And just like you, when I first heard this, I had the same feeling, okay, we're rewarding students, you know, for maybe not going to class or getting there on time or whatever. But when we attended on March 7th, attended the Future Focus at Edgy Rising, I chose some of my workshops to go to where there was student panels and got to hear some of the stories, and not necessarily this program, but programs that their schools offered them to be able to show their competencies in these areas and just what it did for those students. You know, they felt like they had just a new, that they were able to complete their education and continue on with what they wanted to do in life. But, you know, when I first heard about this, I thought the same thing. Okay, we're rewarding, you know, students for not doing what they're supposed to do, and we have students that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But after hearing some of the stories from some of the kids from these different districts, you know, I really see this as an opportunity to be able to help, all 28 students may not participate in it, but I think the ones that are already working, you know, that are going through these hardships are the ones that are going to see this as an opportunity for them. And again, we've been, you know, I know the 28 students that we identified, we started in August and September with those students because we saw them as juniors coming up, needing those credits. And so we were meeting with them, you know, regularly saying, okay, you got to do your Edgenuity. You need to, this is how many credits that you need to make up. So this is not a process that we just started in working with these students. This is something that we started just like Valencia High School did early on in this school year, to be able to identify those students, to work with them and to work with their families, to try to figure out a way, hey, you need to be here. You need to be here on time. You need to be here more often. These are the classes that you need to make up through Edgenuity. These are the credit recovery classes that you need to make. So, you know, again, with the quick turnaround, and as we were sitting in the meeting with Future Focused, you know, education, they threw it at us so quickly that they just didn't really have any guidelines for us to follow. And that was a lot of the questions that we had that day for them when we were in that session with them. And they were like, it's up to you guys as a district what you do. And I think the question on the application was, how many students have you identified? And so that was our number of 28. That could be whittled down. As this program continues, I think it will allow us to really, you know, hone in on what those specifications are and how we identify those students and who they are.
So,
Mr. Tiger, how many credits does a student need to graduate?
24.
So they can get a quarter of their credits through this program. If I was a student, I'd game the system and say, look, my senior year, I'm going to get paid to go to.
Well, and that's why I think if this program continues through the state, as we know, the state throws money at the scene sometimes and then it goes away, that it's going to allow us more time to, you know, like you said, you know, address that issue. Even starting out freshman, sophomore, and junior years, it will allow us to have more guidelines on what this program looks like. When we were asking the people that were in charge of it, they really didn't have any guidelines to it. And so that's kind of where we were at in the, you know, the quick turnaround, you know, that they gave us. I think they originally said that the state wanted them to have 1,000 kids go through this program and graduate in that 2 or 3 month time span. They went back to the state, and I think they're a little over 400 now is the number that they would like to see graduate, you know, through this program.
so
Yes.
Regarding the stipend, if I can keep that student from having to take a full-time job and allow him to have that $1,300 cushion to come to school and make it for the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks through the grading period, then that's where that money will help that student be
Right.
able to focus on his
I
education.
absolutely understand that particular circumstance and appreciate it. What I'm not feeling the assurances of is that is how we have selected those students. Regardless of what the PED gave us, we can have higher standards in this district.
And it's a case by
And
case.
what you're saying to this board is, we don't have that group of students that has chosen not because 1/4 of their credits, but we have identified those kids that this would in fact, because of those exigent circumstances, we had a new vocabulary word tonight,
Right,
as opposed to those students who just chose not.
exactly.
If that's your assurances to this board, that is more comforting than we identified kids because we ran a roster, who's missing things, and we went out and talked to them and said, hey, we could pay you $13.50 to get.
And
the
it's,
4th-year
it's
credit.
upon completion. There's the first half that they're given, if they make that milestone. And if they don't, they don't. And then it's the 92% completion for the final piece. But that would be, they would know that they didn't have to work the 40 hours for the next few months in order to focus on their education.
Sure, I understand that.
What I do like about this program, though, is this is your last check. This is the last opportunity you have. This is your last offer. Because you've got to complete 92% of these. You've got to jump through these hoops now.
Right.
Are you going to go ahead and do this and become a graduate and a functioning member of society?
Of course. And those students that we pay for classes to take at UNMVC.
Yeah.
We've put in money into those students as well.
Right.
It's not a check in their hands, but
Correct.
we are,
But it's a degree.
we are giving opportunities for students who are high achievers as well. They've had. the
That's a fair
opportunity.
point. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes.
A couple. The internship, what does that involve? What are we talking about as far as internship?
So many of these students already have jobs. They already have a place that they work. How can we correlate what they're doing in their job as a full-time employee? And how can we make that work with the credits that they need? And we'll have a rubric and those highly qualified teachers in order to correlate the standards.
Okay, so
When I'm writing up a work order at AutoZone, will that be something that I can put in as my senior English written assignment?
So are
Yes.
these students already earning a paycheck, say from AutoZone and getting the stipend on top of that?
They would,
Nobody's been given the stipend yet.
But that's what the intent.
but they may be. It's a possibility, yes. The other thing that I would just like to point out as well, so it's an internship or community-based project. So they could also do a project potentially that isn't an employee-based project. They may see something, we've had students in our own district do community-based projects in which they tackled homelessness in our community. As Mr. Tiger spoke about, listened to a student who did their community-based project on the effects of parental drug abuse and student success. And so students can take not only these work-based learning type experiences, but they can also take experiences that may speak directly to them and may have real effect on our community and then implement that. As I stated before, that's what happened with our student in previous years, who was able to work with the city of Los Lunas on our issue of homelessness.
I do know from previous experience that many CTE classes have cross collaboration because it's already been crosswalked to the math standards or the English standards. So that's been going on in this state for 20+ years. I don't have an issue with that. at all. My issue is that we may have identified a student that is going to take the road least traveled and in 3 months, pick up additional credits plus $13.50 when we have the student to what was my son's?
D's get degrees?
Huh?
D's get degrees?
D's get diplomas and D's get degrees.
Yes, yes. And if we're gonna be premier, it can't be, I'm having the hardest time, but if you're assuring us that you were thoughtful about who you selected, and this is not, let's go out and offer it to everyone, so that we've just watered down what we're doing. I mean, earlier we began in a work session talking about NM dash, right? Ultimately, we're all held accountable to some standards, but if you're assuring us that you were thoughtful and conscientious about who you selected, as opposed to just
So
kids who chose-
it is important for us to be thoughtful and conscientious about who actually makes it in. Again, due to the short turnover of the application, those numbers may be larger than who we actually enroll in the program in the district. But it's important for us to be thoughtful and conscientious as well, right? We want success for our students. We also want success for our teachers. We want success, we want that success to grow something and instill something into our students that is going to allow them to have that drive, that perseverance later on. So when we're talking about these students who really, truly do kind of need that second chance, maybe need a little bit of that pressure taken off of their shoulders so that they can go get their high school diploma and have the opportunity to help not only themselves, but have their families have a better life. Like, we are passionate about what we do. We are passionate about ensuring that our students have an utmost quality of education. We are also passionate about uplifting our teachers and understanding that their expertise and our student success lie hand in hand. And so we really do believe that through a program such as this, we can build up our students, give them that perseverance, give them that second chance, reinvigorate our teachers by giving them another say, a final say in how we determine, have our students reach the goal and reach the expectation that we as Los Lunas schools set forth for them. And this can be a partnership in which we can create something that is so much more dynamic than sitting in front of a credit recovery program. And allows them to really give meaning to their learning and potentially give dividends to our community in the cases of these community-based projects as well. And so our intent is not to water it down. Our intent is not to just give this as a free-for-all or give it as a pathway to somebody who may be looking, as you said, Mr. Talley, to game the system, right? This is something that we truly want to see those students who need this so that they can have a brighter future and they can have that brighter future while we alleviate some of their current stresses.
You guys are passionate.
Madam Chair,
We think.
Sir.
something else. Can you go to the slide that showed the timeline? Okay, so it looks like the gate's already open, the horses are racing. And you're asking us to approve this.
Yes,
No
sir.
fat on the table.
So,
They can't cross the finish line without our approval.
So yes, that was something we had to bring to Future Focus Education. They wanted a very tight turnaround on the signing of the MOU. And we were very clear with them that we would need our board's approval for the signing of that MOU. Our teachers did have the opportunity to go on March 17th. I believe all three of them chose to attend on March. Actually, one had another prior commitment, wasn't able to go. But two of our three teachers did attend, and Future Focus actually told all three of our teachers, your MOU is not signed. If you cannot attend or choose not to attend this Zoom in person or live, we're going to record it for you and we'll get it to you and we'll count it just for watching it. Our teachers are committed to it,
two of the three, again, the one just already had a prior commitment, chose to attend, even without the assurance that the stipend is coming their way.
And it was during spring break.
And it was on spring break Monday, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so one last thing, if these students don't participate in this program, they have the option to continue next year and finishing and get the rest of those credits. right?
Absolutely. And again, if they don't, there's that halfway mark. If they reach the halfway mark, they get half their stipend. If they reach the rest of it, they get the rest of their stipend. If they don't reach that, then here we are. They've got ingenuity. They have summer school opportunities. They can still be a summer grad.
So we have 5-year students, 6-year students
Yes, we do.
that work, they continue to plug along and they finally
Yes,
get the credits they need. hopefully.
Yes.
Right,
Mhm.
so that's an option.
yes, absolutely. That option is not taken away from them by participating in this program.
All right, thank you, that's all the questions.
Is there any other questions?
I just have a comment. I have total faith in you two guys picking the right students for this, and I think it's, it sounds a little weird and freaky. But and I know it was like working in school, and it'd be nice to get something like that, so I really believe you guys will make the right choices.
Well, and I just want to assure you too, Mr. Bennett, that it just won't be us making that decision. We'll work with our counselors and trying to identify, and those teachers trying to identify those students. Yeah, it's going to be a team effort because, a lot of times our counselors hear more of the stories, hear more of the stories with the students than maybe we do. And so we're going to really rely upon, their interaction with those students also to hear those stories. So, yeah.
Sometimes we have to think out of the box.
Agreed, absolutely. Do I have, thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it very, very much. Do I have a motion to approve item M7, approval of grant award and memorandum of understanding between Los Angeles Schools and Future Focused Education for Los Angeles High School and Valencia High School, funded through the New Mexico Public Education Department? Motion by Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Dr. Rosowski, thank you for bringing this up as an item that, I probably would have otherwise overlooked. So it's been informative. I feel that it's promoting mediocrity, it's diluting the diploma, and that it makes high school participation trophy. I understand there are those that are in need, but I also understand that a lot of those people put themselves in that position. I obviously know my feelings now.
I resonate with many of those. And I have to say that the difference between me and where I was at finance would be trusting our leaders that they've heard our concerns and our expectations, and that this is not a dilution. And if this is approved, I think that this board deserves an opportunity to have a very nice comprehensive presentation so that we can see examples. We can see the content standards that were covered and the type of projects, if it was a community-based project, et cetera. Because I understand it's a pilot. I understand, again, we were left with minimal guidance. I understand, we were left with a tight timeline. I hear the passion that you're working for kids and for their best interests. Well, I'm not going to tell you that I'm 100% comfortable. So for me, I'm relying on the building leaders have heard our concerns about just those things.
So I want to make clear that I fully feel that those selecting the students probably have selected the right students. It's the program, but I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I had a box. Were there any more comments during the discussion phase before I call for the vote? Okay, the vote. Mr. Tally,
No.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
I am voting no. Motion passes 3-2. Thank you very much. I am on to item M9, approval of MOU for internship between Los Angeles Schools and local businesses. Item A, Teen Years LLC. The board member who dissented on that.
I
Okay.
just wanted to get some information on the internship, basically, bonus. And how it's
Absolutely.
done and if we've got more businesses interested in this.
Absolutely. So, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, this is actually a really exciting opportunity. So, the Innovation Zones grant came through a couple of years ago and we've applied for it each year. What it is, it's really about redesigning high school and it's about, bringing our community into our schools and getting our kids into our community and about really taking them to that next post-secondary, level. Part of that grant is to pay for internships. So we hire them as Los Lunas Schools employees and we pay them off of that grant and we partner with businesses based off of what the students' interests are. So you'll see that there's a couple of different MOUs under Teen Years that are part of this grant. And it is based off of, what are my post-secondary goals? What do I want to do when I leave high school? And we put them into this internship. And I believe they're being paid $14 an hour, which is set by the grant. So it's a pretty good chunk of money. And specifically Teen Years is a really cool program. Teen Years is a program in which teens go into homes or, into senior citizens centers, and they work with senior citizens on technology. So they teach them how to use their phone or how to use the computer or the iPad. Maybe how do I take a snapshot or how do I get into a website? And they work hand in hand with that. And so that is one of the companies that we're going to be partnering with. So.
And how are those students selected? I guess is the big thing that you get to do that. Apply, is there a list?
Yeah.
Put out there that they know they can apply for those?
So as of right now, we are reaching students through our career counseling and military and trades specialist. They do have to be on track to graduate. They do have to be able to leave school early so that they can go into those internships. We are applying for the grant now for next year and we're hoping to see it grow. What the goal would be is eventually as I'm on my pathway, maybe I'm on a CTE pathway, this would be part of that internship because a lot of our pathways internship is part of that comprehensive pathway. However, we don't always have the money to fund internships and businesses they're not always interested in funding those internships. But now with this grant, we're able to continue to expand it.
So the grant pays for their hourly wage and the company doesn't, they just get
Yeah.
the benefit of actually training somebody or that, like on the job training.
Absolutely, and that's basically what the MOU is stating. It's stating that they will take responsibility in treating them as an employee, but we actually make the payment coming from Innovation Zones. And so you might see more MOUs as we go through because as we begin to, solicit more businesses and as we are able to get our students into places that they're really wanting to work and really wanting to learn, you'll start to see more MOUs.
Do these internships count as credit recovery?
They would have to be on track, but it does count as
Because there's a big difference between what we
It
were
is
just talking about in this, that where
Yeah.
these students are ones that are on track. And it's not a credit recovery type of thing. It's a,
You do get an elective credit. And if
So-
it is in line with your CTE, then you also get that CTE credit as well.
okay.
Yeah,
It's true. It's a true work state.
it is and it's something that's been in the works for a couple of years, so it's a little more solid. Absolutely.
Is there any more questions? Do I have a motion to approve the MOU for internships between Los Angeles Schools and local businesses, specifically Teen Years LLC? Is there a motion?
Move.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Talley. Mr. Bennett has moved and Mr. Talley has seconded to approve the MOU for internship between Los Angeles Schools and the local businesses, specifically Teen Years LLC. Is there any other discussion? I will call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Tally,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia.
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion passes 5-0. Oh my golly sakes, we're on item N, new business, board member requests for topics for upcoming board work sessions or board meetings.
Madam
I guess the
President.
topic for the work session would be the SOPs. Those things are standard for us.
So SOP definitely,
Yeah.
so SOP
That should be
for
probably
safety
that.
and security, yeah.
It's our row, SOP. Madam President, I would like a report out either June or July on the future focused education, the first year success, the number of recovery hours people were behind, participation. I think.
So comprehensive report. Would you like that at the board meeting or a work session, Mrs. Simoia?
Either one, since it's a first year program, I think probably a work session so that there could be some discussion on opportunities for improvement for next year rather than making it.
Sure, so and you're saying they could have, your recommendation would be June?
June or July, depending upon finishing everything out.
Okay.
When they get the actual reporting from the state, et cetera. Since
Okay.
this is a state program.
Thank you very much. Are there any other requests for work session or board agenda topics? That's it?
We got a lot coming up.
We've got a lot coming up. We might be pretty tired now. At this time, no action. This information was for the purpose of gathering input. No action was needed at this time. We are on to item O. I know. This brings us to the announcement of meetings. As allowed by the Open Meetings Act and in the District Open Meetings Resolution, on occasion, a quorum of the board members attend the same function, including school and district celebrations and ceremonies, as well as sports functions, conferences, workshops, trainings, and community events. Board members will refrain from discussing and or acting on LS Schools Board of Education issues in those settings. In addition, only official meetings are published, and if other meetings are scheduled, they will be announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. With that being said, I would like to announce the following meetings. And please, colleagues, help me double check because I know we looked at our budget calendar, so I want to make sure that I am very accurate. On April 8th,
Friday.
Friday, I'm sorry, this Friday, that is correct. Thank you very much. This Friday, March 28th at 9:00 p.m.
AM.
AM.
Yes, please.
This is just, it just keeps getting
We're
better.
trying to finish before
We're
9.
trying to finish before
9
the
p.m.
next day. Okay, at 9:00 AM, there will be a special meeting of the Board of Education to discuss upcoming or threatened personnel actions. I don't have that item right in front of me. It will be in the central office conference room. And is it listed on the agenda?
As it's listed on the agenda.
As it's listed on the agenda. Thank you, Mrs. Wolf, for helping me with the language. I appreciate that. Leading us next into April 8th, 2025, beginning at 4:30 p.m. Or 3:00 p.m. will be the Finance Committee meeting. Then at 4:30 p.m. will be a board work session to cover the first presentation for the budget. And then, yes, I'm sorry. I thought we had discussed 4:30.
To allow for an hour and a half for finance.
Right. Is 4:30 preferable with my colleagues, or could we do it at 4:00? Because then we have,
Depends on finance, because there's no audit.
there is no audit. So, Mr. Talley, I know you have to commute in the longest on that particular Tuesday. What would be your preference, sir?
4 o'clock, but I might be 5 minutes late again.
You might be 5 minutes late?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write you a note. Okay, so let's go to 4:00 p.m. So on April 8th 3 o'clock is a finance committee meeting. 4 o'clock will be the board work session for the first presentation on budget, on the spring budget. And that will be held in the central office boardroom. We will follow that with a special meeting at 6 o'clock PM. On April 9th, the board members will be attending the NMSBA Region 4 Spring Meeting. The location is to be announced, but it will be held at the Rio Rancho. This is an association meeting and training only. A quorum may be in attendance. No actions will be taken. The estimated time for that will be between 5:30 to 8:30 PM. The next meeting will be on April 15th, beginning at 4 o'clock PM. That will be a work session to include the first budget or another budget presentation, then followed at 6 o'clock PM with a regular board meeting. Both of those will be held in the central office conference room. The next meeting would be the parent advisory public hearing on April 22nd, beginning at 6 o'clock PM in the central office boardroom. Finally, on April 29th, beginning at 4 o'clock PM would be a work session to hopefully cover the final board presentation and a special meeting at 6 o'clock PM to review the final board presentation with discussion and approval. Is that comprehensive and is that complete?
Yes, it is.
We got it out there. That's pretty, it's an interesting thing.
Send it out. Clarification,
Sir?
April 8th,
Yes, sir.
4 o'clock work session, followed by a 6 o'clock meeting.
Special meeting. Yes, sir. This leads us to item P, adjournment. I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
So
Mr. Mr. Bennett beats you, Mr. Talley. And the second is Mr. Talley. I have a motion by Mr. Bennett and a second by Mr. Talley to adjourn the meeting. I'm going to call for the vote. Mr. Vickers.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mrs. Seboya.
Yes.
Mr. Talley.
Yes.
And I heartily vote yes. Motion passes
Thank you,
5-0. Board meeting is adjourned at, my contacts are really messy.
8:56.
8:56 PM.